Christina's going to talk a little bit today about some of her findings and some of your planning. I know we were just talking about this, and of how she's transferred some of her face-to-face courses to the online environment. So take it away, Cristina.
I planned today to deliver a very informal discussion about this work. And my idea is that I'll go through the PowerPoint and some main points that I want to emphasize with you guys. And then I want to show you how my class this semester is going, using all this, the different tools that we'll be talking about. And finally share with you also the planning and delivery of the class this semester, right? And how this is a cumulative process since I began teaching online. So here are the plan. See, talking about the plan, development, delivery of those classes, how I reviewed my own teaching, and developed new technological visual tools that could improve this teaching, or this was the goal. And it really provoked a transformative approach to teaching. The way I planned my class, the way I thought, the way I delivered it. Okay? So it was a transformative experience going online, getting blended. So I will talk a little bit also how I plan my course design, and it's a process, it's a working process, because I think it can get better. I've seen other experiences that other ways of working the site design that I want to bring to my class. And I want to talk about this too. And finally, how balancing technological and personal aspects of delivering this new way of teaching improves all those classes. Okay, so how it was, how successful it was sometimes, and how the lessons I've learned through all this process. So here, it's kind of my history of teaching the different classes. And as you can see, I started teaching in 2004. I always demanded a smart room. I always wanted a doc cam. I always had visuals in my class. But it was in the spring of 2007 that I started doing WebCT. And it changed the way I've always taught. It changed so much that in the summer I taught my first fully online class. And from then on, I just couldn't stop. You know, all my classes are web enhanced. I can't, they say traditional face-to-face class. I don't know what is this anymore. I don't feel I can come back to it. You know, I don't feel, I think students will lose with that. Even if it's always a web enhanced class. I always have my course site anchored to my classes. I think it does improve student participation, responsibility, and bigger dialogue among teacher and instructor. So here is, I brought here the first time that I divided my classes into 3 parts, kind of creating a catapult, how do they say, a cumulative process in teaching. So I would have, let's say, one course practically in part 1, and then that would have everything, all the assignments, all the demands, and the students by the second month of classes, they knew how it worked, because they would have gone through daily map quizzes, they would have gone through group reports, they would have gone through exams and closes. And then I start a new one, so they know the process, and they do well. Though I need the information, the previous information, but that's how I did. So they knew how to navigate the page. You would have the part 1, part 2, and part 3. And I just tried to keep on adding to this dialogue between them. Let me see, technology and student learning outcomes. And also in HST 103, this is the first part of the word history sequence that is divided between the beginnings to the 1300s. Then HST 104 is from the 1300s through contemporary times. It always amazes me that I know history. Right. I was completely against it, and after I started teaching it, I understood that our students have no background, no context, and this would give them, and later they could develop in other classes, right? So I reinforce the focus on visual resources, images, videos, and graphs. I use the virtual learning spaces in my courses, and the physical learning space of my the classroom, the library, and my own office. And there was always a virtual space in my courses for those activities. So the chat room, I enabled all those tools I'm using in my classes. So they had access to textual and non-textual resources all the time. And I kept this very same model, divided into 3 parts. And I can show you guys, I think I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to one of my classes and show how this division works for the student. And let's say this is my current class, and I kept this very same format. So they have a tutorial, right, that we have awesome tutorials here that CITS has produced, the group has produced for us. There is one that I'm dying to have, the one about primary sources and secondary sources and how to use the different websites. All these students can have access and learn how to use. Then I have the syllabus that is downloaded here. Then I have opening remarks and part 1 of the class. So for instance, Ancient American Conquest. We went through this already. So they go here, right? And they have, this is student field, right? They go to the part 1 of the class, and they're going to find different forms of presentation here. And the discussion board is inserted here. We have weekly discussion boards. That's where I put all the primary source. This is awesome, because before I used to have them reading, I would hand out primary source to discuss the next class. Students that didn't come didn't have it. And now they have access to it and they can discuss the whole week. So when they come to class, they already have the illustration, right? And we have discussion boards, as I said, going on here, timelines. And for instance, we have videos that Damon, for instance, downloaded. Students have access to what I show in class, and those are 10-minute excerpts. And visually they are attractive, and if they missed in class, they can watch in their website. Then, what else? I also have, let's say, other readings that I can't really put in discussion boards, but they can read before class too. Okay, I'll get prepared for their exams. So this is part 1, right? And if you go here to part 1 again, they have everything here. But they can also go to the calendar tool. This is another tool that I think it was so important in my classes. Okay? So for instance, if you go to the month of February, last year, that we are here, they had, for instance, 2 reports to hand in. They are easy. It's responsible. They, if you have to wait for them to hand in class hard copies, there was always some delay or some excuse. This helped them to be responsible for their own work. I don't worry about it anymore. And it was a very important feature, because I could also add visuals to it, or simply just what I needed clicking in the calendar tool. And this, I think, was really awesome for the class. And adding, another important thing, adding rubrics for each and every assignment that they have. So they know what I expect from them and how I'm going to grade them. So all those features I really think were a plus, and something that was really troublesome in traditional classrooms. Because I think it does improve participation. I think, no, I'm sure. That's why I can't live without it anymore. The discussion board, it's so successful. Here is my demonstration student is not really reading his or her messages, right? But they are really participating in it. Look at the number 40, 32, 43, 56 messages. And this is a weekly discussion. So I really know, and then we have a very good way of grading using this tool. So all those are accessories to my traditional class. Those are blended courses. I mean, I see them twice a week in the classroom. So it's a very intense experience. And so far, and each and every class I've been teaching is adding to the next one. And this is the delivery process that I would like to talk about too. So we have the discussion boards, and here, for instance, is how I do. It improved my way of organizing my classes. For each and every week I make notes. And later, if you guys want to look here, this is one of my classes that I have taught, let's say, 3 semesters. So I keep reviewing all my lessons, each one I'm taking out, but it's always a dialogue between what I have taught. It's usually one other semester. So I can go back and review what I have used, how I have used, what worked. So it's a dialogue with my own way of teaching that has really worked well. And this is an example. I create journals, and I have weekly and daily what I'm doing and how I'm doing. And each semester I go back and I improve this journal. Here is the calendar tool, and here the assignments. We have daily quizzes in classroom. Daily quizzes. It's a lot of grading, but it's worth it because I really see where the students are. So we have map quizzes. They have a syllabus which is everything. This is the student, their reports, their timelines, and I grade this effort too. And finally, this is how I grade them. You know, I developed a way that they can see week per week how they came, their grades, and they can see that. You know, only their, it's not that everybody's grades, but they have access to that. And all this was developed in during those different classes. Here is the PowerPoint presentation that the students put together during spring 2008. Each student worked with a different personage in Latin America. And they built all this online. And this semester, I'm also using I've learned after this group work, they had problems getting together with the group. Even working, we started doing wikis. Mm-hmm. Trace has been helping me with that. And for instance, here, let me show. I'm doing this now in my, I have to go to build, to my courses. I'm doing this in my 104 class. What I really like to divide into those 3 parts is that what I've shown you, here it is. We go to student view. And here, I'm loving this tool. And I'm using for the first time this semester. And it's really working because I'm bringing what I have learned with groups before, that I have used using discussion boards. And now I brought to the week. And for instance, I have all the students work, let's say, group 1. Where I can kind of put my own notes to what they are doing. They have to have a name for their group. And then, for instance, you see here how they developed. You have they do the outline, they improve the outline, and then they insert their contributions and images to each and every part. Each image is brought from a different student. So each group is working a chapter that we are reviewing, and then they can all look at it and study for the exam. Mm-hmm. And I want to see how they're going to do in the exam. I'm grading. They did the first exam last Tuesday. And then I'm also creating tables, trying to understand which discussion board really worked, how many students participate in this or that in different semesters. So I can understand where the class is really succeeding or not, and how I can improve. So that's the dialogue I've learned. Mm-hmm.
Could you scroll back up a little again? I'd like to see what the students... So each student has submitted a visual related to...
Yeah, I'll show you what they have to do is right here.
Okay.
In the home page, there are 4 groups in the classroom. Each group is responsible to review 1 chapter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they work on the outline. They collect images, 1 for each student. Right? They can go to Google Image or they locate them chronologically in a timeline. This is in the classroom. See the dialogue? They're doing this online. But then we get together in the class in the last 15 minutes of class, because I'm teaching 1 hour, 15 minutes. The final 15 minutes, they get together, they have a folder, and there's a timeline. And each one has to have one important date, and they have to explain to their colleagues and locate in this timeline. So then they go home and they can work there. So it is a dialogue between the classroom and online. And I'm really happy with this wiki. I think it's really working well. But I'll be able to tell, it's my first time using it. I'll be able really to assess it better by the end of the semester.
So this is the wiki that UMass has developed as part of the My Courses platform.
It's what we're recommending.
Okay.
And I kind of went very fast, so how to improve and discussions. But that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to show what I'm doing. I have other classes here, and I'm trying different things in different classes. One of my main goals now is to add audio, to my PowerPoints. Some of them, because all of my classes have PowerPoints. For instance, here in this class here, that you have also 3 parts. Let me go to teach. If you go, let me get a different one, just as an example, because this is 104, right? But if you go to where is my 103? If you go to my 103 that I used last semester, I have so many classes listed here. It's so crazy. But you guys are also doing it, right? So if you go, let's say, to part, let's go to part 2. And you get your classical China, right? So then all of them, you're going to have PowerPoint presentations. In all courses, I really want to start adding audio, And I don't know why it's not showing, but it should. Oh, it's kind of. I had some problems in some of those that are copied from different classes, right? Because I copy a lot. I copy and transform. One of the things I want to do, it's one of my projects, is to get all my 103 classes and see what I've been changing throughout time, and to trace all this change. But when you copy from a different course, you will start having problems with the PowerPoints. So I want to review all my PowerPoints now and start adding audio to them. So, and as I told you, I was thinking to open for discussion and discuss some aspects of my teaching, and also to illustrate with how I do this review process here, because here I have, for instance, 3 times that I taught, and how I can see how it evolved, and how I can bring what worked to the next one, or be kind of critical. It didn't work. It's because of this kind of classroom that I had, because you have to consider also the different groups you teach every time.
So in terms of the varied activities you do with your students, you have the PowerPoints, you have the discussion boards.
And I have excerpts of documentaries, and I do Jeopardy games at the end of each session too. They love it.
Yeah.
They really love it. And when we review some assessments, I try to really do different things. And in a 15-minute class that I usually teach during the fall, it's 5 minutes for this, 10 minutes for this, 10 minutes for that. The class goes like that.
Right.
And they are always involved. I think there's no way out of it. And the online aspect helps it. I wouldn't be able to do it without it. I'm always moving from DocCam. I use the DocCam for the maps, because after they do the maps, I like to work with them, each and every map. I don't want any student to leave the classroom. They do the map quiz. They give it back to me. And I always like to show them, because they don't need the thing that they must have done. I think this is vital. And I'm very proud of them. They're doing a great job. Yeah, it's very demanding. It's very intense. Some of them complain.
Yeah.
All of them complain. They love complaining. But they do it. They do it. You know, if you demand from them, you get it. You know, it's easy to complain about our students, you know, but yeah, there are ways, I think.
Have you felt that using this technology saves time in the long run, or have you found it more time consuming to build all of this into your
I
work?
think that at the beginning was really impossible. It's really time consuming to putting all this together, but now I'm enjoying it. I still don't like all the grading,
Yeah.
but there's no way out of it. It's always been like this. But I mean, in the online downloading the lectures, I download lectures that I had prepared. You know, it's even informal. You can even find sometimes here and there some problem because it is informal when you're preparing.
Yeah,
I don't know, so
exactly.
what? Let them see it.
Right.
If somebody missed class, I'm not okay. They shouldn't. Class is
Exactly.
kind of required. It's in the syllabus, but I won't penalize them. You know. So I have notes that I call NT. I have outlines, OTLs. And it's so funny. Students by the end they are, oh, you didn't download the DB. Oh, I did at this hour. We start talking about OTLs, VDs, PPTs, you know, because that's what I use online. Now, the last,
Cute.
and it works, I think. It is time consuming. It is crazy. And right now that I'm reviewing some aspects of it and adding, I decided to add because it's a women in Latin America.
Right.
So I'm adding a lot of primary sources and illustrations. And it is a lot of work because I have a lot of material that has been copied for semesters and I'm adding new information to it. And it is. I'm learning in this
But
program.
on the other hand, everything is together then. Once you invest the time, it's all in one space,
And I feel much more
it becomes
comfortable
easier
in
down the
material.
road. There's a big payoff, I think.
I think so.
in,
I
know,
think
in
the
time.
payoff is when I'm grading. Because it's easier when you grade and you're happy than when you, I have to spend all this time reading the stuff.
Exactly. It's true.
So I'm happy to spend all this time. At least it's more, the qualitative aspect is visible for those who read.
I'm curious, in some of my work, I've begun to sort of examine the students' work from a research perspective. I mean, another thing that this enables is to have samples of student work right there, easily available, and to see if they're progressing over time in certain ways. I'm curious if you've done any of that.
Yeah, this is another thing that I do in all my classes. For instance, if you look here, if I go to my documents, what happens, this is awesome, I have access. So if I go here, let's say to the classes I'm teaching now, spring 2009, for instance, look at this. I have here all the reports,
Right.
let's say,
Exactly.
right? And this is what they've done, and this is my comment. See?
Yes,
And then
exactly.
I cut and paste
That's nice.
to the box. So each one has an individualized feedback on their own work.
Yeah.
So what I expect and how I grade it. It's more respectful.
I do that also. Yeah.
Students are really they are happy with that. I mean, how do I say that? It's a better word, but it's not coming. Anyway, you know, I feel that it is a much, and I do for each and every student. See, my comment, I kind of made a smaller font because it's easier to see the whole thing, but those are 750, 1,000 word papers that I graded, and I grade one by one, look, each and every student.
Yeah, and it's great to see all of that together.
Each and every student. And I do this for each and every class I teach. I just think it is respectful, you know. They do, but the problem.
It's a lot of work.
I spent a snow day grading.
Yeah.
But another thing, after you do this once, and I have the students reading again this very same thing another time, I can go back and use some of the. It just improves with time. It is still a lot of work. People who think that going online is to ease their lives, it's to make teaching better. It's not really to make it easier in your load. I don't think so. I'm sorry for those who expect it.
Well, and it depends what you do with the technology, too. I mean, and how integrated your teaching is and so forth. So,
But I think it's I always think it's getting better. I'm mastering some things I didn't before. So after I master something, I can go. I always wanted to do wiki, but I couldn't. I was still trying to master what I was using. Now I could. So now I can think, oh, I'm gonna be able to use this here or not, or because I know how it works. And you're always afraid to choose because the first time you use, the students kind of, but that's how we learn. Each semester has been a different experience. And in your case, music, my God, this is another dream of mine. I really hope that in maybe 2 semesters, I'll be able to have music. For instance, if we go to the 1700s.
Right.
Wouldn't it be great to have some Baroque there? Or
Yeah.
getting to Mozart?
I've been interested in
And
that
then
also.
1800s, Beethoven, you
Yeah.
have a Fifth Symphony starting,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and getting students involved also in that. Audio. This is my goal.
There are copyright considerations, aren't there, for doing that? So that's
There are.
an issue.
Oh yeah, so I
There are, but
can.
we'll work with you on that. There's,
Yeah.
certain.
Count me in. I'm very interested in that also, obviously.
Seems-
Yeah. It's great to give students the total picture, the music, the visuals, the verbal text, and have them see how they intersect and integrate each with the other.
And I think that's the way to go. I think
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
going to integrate different things as we go, and I think it's going to be amazing. In history, I use Google Earth every class because of the math quizzes. So imagine if you can kind of really, and it's awesome. You go from here, from there, you go there. You're always moving.
Yeah.
And Amy, you're here. I just thought, the writing center. If you guys had a way also to be in this picture, right? That need a tutorial.
That would be
Go to the writing center. I put a
Yeah.
tutorial there in my class.
yeah.
A little tutorial. You could develop one. The good thing about, because I have students who need to go to the writing center. And it's so weird because it's WC in Portuguese is mother clothes. But anyway, they need to. They have to. It's part of it. They do need to go. And they get mad when I tell so, as if it were a punishment sometimes. It's not. It's part of it, right? So I don't know. I wish we had one tutorial explaining to them the benefits
Well, we
of
visit
discussing their
classes.
own work.
We,
But I mean online.
an online explanation.
I
We
don't
have,
know.
yeah, I'll talk to you about that. We actually have somebody who put something together that we can attach to our website, but I'm not sure of the quality of it, but I think it is a good idea.
It would be
And,
great.
Yeah.
Because some of them simply do not follow instructions.
No, it's true.
And if they sit down with the assignment with somebody at the writing center and talk about their own assignment, maybe things would be easier, right? I don't know, this would be another way to connecting us online, right? I don't know.
And it does help. Some students appreciate seeing each other's students' work on the wiki or in any other format because they can get a ballpark idea of what other people are doing and what's expected. Sometimes they don't follow instructions, but by seeing examples
It
of other
becomes,
students.
the process becomes transparent.
Mhm.
Nobody's hiding anything. Teaching is not tricky.
Right.
Exams are not, I'm not tricking anybody. The only thing here is teaching
Yeah.
and learning.
I just read this morning about a school that has attached to their website. They've got faculty talking about particular papers in their disciplines and why they like them, why this is a particularly good paper. So the faculty members talking the students through it.
That's great.
Something that might be useful here.
Sounds
Some people would be willing to do that.
I don't know.
Any other questions for Cristina? Okay. Thank you very much, Cristina. Congratulations.
Short and sweet.